Hello everyone. I'm going to start with petroleum geology. First of all, I would like to tell why petroleum is important, because as for the economy is concerned, it forms the economy of any country. It has a lot of role to govern the economy of any country, and as for being a student, petroleum geology, study of petroleum geology is important because it is an interesting subject first of all, and second thing is it provides handsome amount of salary. That means if we see the global scenario, the petroleum geologists are being highest paid, one of the highest paid employees all over the world. That's why this petroleum geology, study of petroleum geology is quite important. So what this petroleum geology includes, in general the petroleum geology includes a set of geological discipline. Here we can see it includes a set of geological discipline which are applied for exploration of hydrocarbon. So what are the geological discipline? The geological discipline basically includes the geological discipline includes the geophysics, where we study the physical nature of the earth. What are the physical property of the earth in term of resistivity, in term of acoustic impedance. Other geological discipline broadly we are dealing with geochemistry, then paleobotany. So overall what we can see, for the search of petroleum we are having a combination of discipline which are responsible or which are having their own role to establish the petroleum. So next come, what is petroleum? Next question comes in our mind, what is petroleum? So basically petroleum is a naturally occurring substance. Which is composed of, or which is having hydrogen and carbon, mainly hydrogen and carbon, and its compound. Mainly it has hydrogen and carbon and its compound. Apart from that, it has some nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, carbon dioxide and sulfur. These nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and sulfur, they are considered as inorganic component, while this hydrogen, carbon and its compound, they are considered as organic component. So basically this petroleum is a naturally occurring compound which is having organic component as well as inorganic component. This organic component is the main petroleum, while the inorganic component act as impurities for any hydrocarbon. So if we have nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, carbon and sulfur, they reduces the calorific value of hydrocarbon, and since they reduces the calorific value of hydrocarbon, at the same time they reduces the price of crude, whatever crude we are producing. Okay, so next question come, as we have already discussed, it is also known as black gold or liquid gold. So since it has been given the similarity with the gold, so how does it occur? Because as we have already discussed, it governs the economy of any country. So what is its occurrence? As for the occurrence is concerned, it occurs in in general, when we deal with the petroleum, the first thing which come in our mind that it is a liquid. Though most of the petroleum occurs in the form of liquid, but also it occurs in the form of gas as well as in the form of solid. If it occurs naturally, if it occurs in the form of liquid, we call it as crude oil. When it occurs as gas, we call it as natural gas. When it occurs in the form of solid, we call it as asphalt, bitumen or tar. These are the solid version of petroleum. Since we have already discussed that, apart from that, if we see the occurrence of petroleum in terms of the geological surfaces, it can occur on the surface, below the surface, and we can say it can occur above the surface also. So, as on the surface, it occurs in the form of seepages, or in the form of seepages or mud volcano. They are associated with mud volcano also. Below the surfaces, it is well established that most of the petroleum we can find between 1500 meter to 4000 meter. And above the surfaces, though we don't have any occurrence above the surfaces, this is basically the when the seepages ooze out at the surface of the earth, they are usually evaporate and they are not of commercial use or any importance. Basically, the commercial use or importance is the occurrence of petroleum below the surface. Next come what are the organic components which are involved in the, which are responsible or which makes the hydrocarbon. Since we have already discussed that we have organic component and inorganic component, These inorganic component were nitrogen, sulfur, oxygen, carbon dioxide and what we call it as phosphorus. They are not useful, they act as impurity, whereas organic component are the main factor which are responsible or which are useful in terms of calorific value of our hydrocarbon. So, organic component includes paraffin, CN, H2N plus 2, and most of the hydrocarbon, when the hydrocarbon is rich in paraffin, that is known as the best quality of hydrocarbon. And here we have methane, ethane, propane, butane, all those the natural hydrocarbon single chain. From C1 to C5 we have these paraffins are having gaseous nature, whereas from C5 to C20 they are liquid in nature, and above C20 they are solid in nature. So, most of the time we uses most of the hydrocarbon are in liquid form. So, they are ranging between above C5, whereas we get the natural gases also which are preserved, and they are in general from methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. These are the 4 gases which are responsible for the liquid hydrocarbon. So, after paraffin, the next category we have or in organic component. The first was paraffin. After paraffin we have cycloalkanes. These cycloalkanes are basically the ringed These cycloalkanes are saturated ring structures. We call it as naphtha also. Naphtha, they are saturated ring hydrocarbons. And apart from these cycloalkanes, we have aromatics. Aromatics, that is CnH2n minus 2. This is cycloalkane is CnH2n. Okay, so this is how we can, where n is the number of molecules, and if C is equal to 1, that means over here n will be in general C is suppose 6, then what will be the H, that means 8. Okay, not 8, 10. 10. So these are the aromatics, and these paraffins, they occurs in the three form as we have already discussed, gas, liquid as well as solid, whereas these cycloalkanes and aromatics, they usually occurs in the liquid form. That's why most of the petroleum occurs in the liquid form. Okay, so this till now we have discussed what is petroleum, that is an naturally occurring organic compound, though it has some inorganic compounds also. Where does it occurs? It occurs in general, most of the petroleum occurs below the surface, and if we talk about forms, it occurs in the solid, liquid as gas, in the all three phases. The component of petroleum, the organic component of petroleum system is mainly paraffins, cycloalkanes and aromatics. Next come what are the physical properties through which we can identify the petroleum. Whether we are when we are dealing with the petroleum, what are the physical properties which we should look for? The first physical property is color. So most of you would have seen the petroleum, or in several movies we used to see the color of petroleum. In general, it has a variety of color. It starts from colorless to dark brown, colorless to dark black. That means it occurs in colorless, then greenish black, brown, dark brown and dark black. Okay, so the colorless and the colored variety is dependent on the density of the hydrocarbon, or rather API gravity of the hydrocarbon. If API gravity is low, what is API gravity? We will discuss in the subsequent headings. The API gravity is low in general, then we have the darker color. If the API gravity is high, we get lighter color. Okay, so basically it is dependent on the API gravity, and in general the high API value is the better quality hydrocarbon. So it is important to and this API gravity, API stands for American Petroleum Institute. What happens in general, when the oil exploration started, first the Russian were having the command on Russians were the command, and they used to use a specific gravity instead of this API gravity. Later on the America comes into picture, and they devise the measurement of same specific gravity or density of hydrocarbon in term of API gravity, and broadly they have the inverse relationship in between. That means the low API means higher density and the high API means lower the density. Okay, this is all about the color. That means we all know petroleum occurs in a variety of shades of color. That means colorless to dark black or jet black, depending on the viscosity or depending on the density of the hydrocarbon. The next is optical property. Since it is well established that the hydrocarbons are rather petroleum are derived from biogenic contents, and most of the organic compound, plus 2 chemistry, all of you must have studied that almost all the organic compounds which exist on the earth, they usually shows the optical properties. You must have studied stereomerism, stereoisomerism. In the similar way, when this petroleum product or hydrocarbon being passed under plane polarized light, they shows the enantiomer and diastereomer. Enantiomers and diastereomers. This enantiomer and diastereomer is not of our importance when we are dealing with the chemistry, that is more important. So what we can say over here, that these organic matter shows the optical property, or rather hydrocarbon shows the optical property, and this the nature, that means it changes when the plane polarized light passes through the hydrocarbon. It changes the orientation of the chains which are linked with this, and this is one of the indirect evidence that the petroleum is derived from biogenic sources or organic material like algae, phytoplankton, zooplankton, etc. And next property is fluorescence. And this is one of the property which is used to identify the crude, on the well site. What happens, we used to when we have identified any reservoir beneath the surface, we used to drill that. Suppose this is an anticline, this is a hydrocarbon reservoir. Here we have oil, then we have water. So what happens, we used to drill a well and we used to analyze the cutting which is coming on the surface. What do? We see these cuttings under UV rays, under ultraviolet light, and under this ultraviolet light, when we have crude in this, they shows golden yellow fluorescence. That is one of the peculiar property which is being shown by these hydrocarbons. Though there are some minerals which also shows fluorescence, but but this golden yellow fluorescence of hydrocarbon is very peculiar, that does not occur in any mineral. One more thing, sometimes when we drill a well, we drill with water, or rather drilling mud. When we drill a well, we used to drill with drilling mud. This drilling mud has usually it is water based bentonite solution. This bentonite is a clay. So this is basically water based bentonite solution, which is with some additive. This is used for drilling. So when we are using water based bentonite solution for drilling, whatever cutting is coming, if it has golden yellow fluorescence within it, that means it confirms the presence of hydrocarbon within that particular horizon which we are dealing with. But sometimes what happen, we use diesel based or rather oil based mud. Sometimes we uses oil based mud for drilling, particularly in the countries like where we have a lot of evaporite deposits, or on that places we cannot use water because evaporite will dissolve in the water. So what do? We use oil based mud. In case of oil based mud, what happens, if we are using oil based mud, in that case it's really tough to identify golden yellow fluorescence. But what happens, since the mud is circulated again and again in the reservoir from mud tank, so what happens, with aging the fluorescence property of diesel or oil reduces, whereas when we get puncture the formation which is of our interest, the fluorescence property suddenly increases. Based on that, we used to identify the zone whether we are dealing with the zone of hydrocarbon or not. But since oil based mud dealing with oil based mud is really tough, but in general in India or most of the world, people uses water based mud or polymer based mud. Oil based mud is used in very few countries. So that is not of our main concern. Next come refractivity index. In general, in mineralogy, we uses refractivity index. We measure the refractivity index of the most of the minerals. So this refractivity index is basically when the light passes through from one medium to another medium, it reflects from its original path. The Snell law, most of us would have studied. Sin theta 1 is equal to n2 sin theta 2, where n is the medium and theta is the angle of incidence and angle of reflection. So in general, the refractivity index of oil is 1.38 to 1.39. Okay. And if we compare the this refractive index of oil with the water has 1.33, around refractivity index around 1.33, and when we prepare the slides, we uses Canada balsam, and this Canada balsam has refractivity index around 1.54. I think you all know about the refractivity index. It is the ratio of n1 to n2 with respect to incident angle and refracted angle. Okay. So what will be the relief of these oil or hydrocarbon? It will be low relief. Very good. It will show low relief when it is mounted with the Canada balsam. Okay. Next come the density, as we have already discussed. Next come density. As we have already discussed, density is a crucial factor which governs the quality of crude we are dealing with. If the density is specific gravity and API gravity, these three are nearly similar terms. Density, as we know, it is mass by volume, whereas specific gravity, when we measure specific gravity, is also known as relative density. Since this specific gravity is measured with respect to some fluid, in general that fluid is water, which has specific gravity or rather density which has density 0.93 for the water and 0.7 for saline water, sea water. For sea water it is 1.07, for pure water it is 0.93. So in general it is nearly 1. So the specific gravity is nearly equal to the density of hydrocarbon. Whereas if we see the API, the American Petroleum Institute, this American Petroleum Institute has introduced this API gravity, and this API gravity is equal to 141.5 upon specific gravity of oil at 60 degrees Celsius minus 131.5. This is the formula for calculation of API gravity, and you can see the relationship between API and specific gravity is the inverse relationship between this. That means if we have higher API, the specific gravity or density will be lower. If we have lower API, then vice versa. So next come, what is the specific gravity of oil? Since we are dealing with the hydrocarbon, and when we are dealing with the hydrocarbon, we are mainly focused with the crude oil. So the crude oil in general has the API gravity ranging between specific gravity ranging between 0.7 to 0.9, whereas if we are dealing with the gas has density around 0.3. These are important. You should remember about the density of the oil. And if we see the API gravity, the API gravity of oil ranges from, in general ranges from, most of the oil has API gravity which ranges from 15 to 45. Most of the oil fall in between 15 to 45. 45 is the condensed gas, or rather condensate बोलते हैं, we call it as condensate or very light gas. And if we have API gravity nearly 15 or less than 15, then it is what we call it as heavy oil. We call it as heavy oil. And below 15 it trends towards the asphalt. And this was about the density. The next come formation volume factor. Sorry, I was taking just water. Just some water. So next is formation volume factor or shrinkage volume factor. What happens in general when the petroleum is beneath the reservoir or within the reservoir under immense lithostatic pressure? So what happens, this is the ground. In general, this hydrocarbon resides at a certain depth with which is having a lot of lithostatic pressure on this hydrocarbon or on this reservoir. So when a lot of pressure is being applied, whatever gaseous material is there, that also because of the pressure they gets converted in the form of oil. Okay. So what happens, as soon as we produce them on the surface, what should happen exactly? In general, the people will say this will expand and the volume will increase. Okay, because here it has the gas plus oil which is very compacted, whereas when it comes to the surface it will expand obviously, but it does not happen exactly. When we measure the equal amount of oil in the reservoir and on the stock tank, here we have a stock tank, on the stock tank, in the stock tank it reduces, the volume reduces, and that reduction of volume from reservoir level to the surface or stock tank oil. Stock tank is nothing technical. Stock tank basically where we store the oil. The reduction of volume from reservoir to the surface or stock tank oil is known as formation volume factor. Basically we have the formula for this. Formation volume factor is usually less than 1. Okay, that means whatever volume is there in the stock tank, formation volume factor is equal to volume of oil in tank, stock tank, divided by equivalent volume of oil in reservoir condition. This is known as formation volume factor. Okay, so but it does not follow the Boyle's law. What does Boyle's law say? Boyle's law says P is inversely proportional to 1 upon V. Okay, we all know Boyle's law. Pressure is inversely proportional to volume. That means when pressure is reduced, here it is at high pressure and here it is at low pressure. That means pressure is getting reduced, and when pressure is reduced, what will be the for the volume? Volume will definitely increase, but here we are not getting increase of volume. That is because of, as we have already discussed, the Boyle's law is applied for the closed system, the first thing, and here we are dealing with the open system. In closed system, what will happen, that we do not have escape of lighter hydrocarbon when the hydrocarbon is coming on the stock tank, whereas in the open system, when the hydrocarbon this hydrocarbon, our system is open system, and when this oil is coming to the surface, it will some lighter fragment of oil that we have already discussed from C1 to C5, which is the gaseous phase. Some part of this gaseous phase will skip out, and moreover some of the oil which were in the oil phase in the reservoir under the pressure, they will also form the gaseous nature and they will escape from the stock tank, will lead to reduction in the volume. Okay. Next is shrinkage volume factor. This is nothing. This is similar to formation volume factor, only it is the reverse of formation volume factor. Some people apply shrinkage volume factor. In general, we apply the formation volume factor. That means shrinkage volume factor will be inversely proportional to 1 upon formation volume factor. In general, the oil industry uses the formation volume factor as one of the key component during reserve calculation. Okay, so here the shrinkage volume factor is reverse of formation volume factor. That means when in general this formation volume factor is less than 1, so shrinkage volume factor will be always most of the time or always greater than 1. Okay, and the formula will be reverse. The volume of oil in reservoir condition divided by equivalent volume of oil in the tank condition. So this is about the formation volume factor, which is an important or rather key component when we are dealing with the properties of this petroleum. Okay, next comes pressure. Since we have seen that pressure has an important role for to play with the change in the volume even. Okay, so over here what is the role of pressure? If we see, this is the pressure and this is the volume. Okay, so what happens under isothermal condition? Suppose we see under isothermal condition, when the pressure is reduced, after some times, what happen here, we have oil or the liquid phase. Here we have oil or liquid phase. After some times in this liquid, what will happen when the pressure will reduce? Some of the gaseous component will start coming because of the reduction of the pressure. And since the pressure is getting reduced, some gaseous component will start coming, and that point is known as bubble point. That point is known as bubble point. Okay, that means first initially it was a homogeneous liquid, and after this point there is some bubble which start appearing in the crude. That's why we call it as bubble point. After bubble point, for a certain pressure reduction, we will have liquid plus gas, both the phases within the reservoir. And after that, what happens when we further reduce the pressure, then only gaseous phase will remain in the system, and the point at which all the liquid gets converted into gaseous phase is known as DU point. DU point, that means the point at which last drop of liquid phase gets converted into gaseous phase. Okay, and similarly, what is bubble point? Bubble point is a point at which the first bubble appears or the first gaseous phase start appearing in the homogeneous liquid phase. So based on this bubble point and DU point, the reservoirs has been classified into three categories. The reservoirs, what is the reservoirs? Broadly, we will discuss reservoir later on, but over here reservoir means containment or the area below the subsurface which can hold the hydrocarbon, okay, through which the hydrocarbon can pass. It is porous and permeable, and it is usually, when we are dealing with the hydrocarbon reservoir, that means it is usually associated with a top seal or seal. Basically it is associated with seal where it can the hydrocarbon can entrap. Okay, so based on this bubble point and dew point, the reservoirs has been classified into three categories. One is undersaturated reservoir, another is saturated reservoir, and the last one is oversaturated reservoir. Okay, and the undersaturated reservoir are those reservoirs which are above bubble point, between bubble point and dew point. Between bubble point and dew point, we have saturated reservoir, and below dew point we have oversaturated reservoir. When we know our reservoir is either undersaturated, saturated or oversaturated, accordingly our exploration policy also goes. For oversaturated, that means suppose this is a reservoir, if it is undersaturated, that means it will have oil and gas This is undersaturated reservoir. When it has, sorry, this is not gas, this is oil. In general, oil associated with water. Since the density of oil, gas and water is in such a way, they are usually arranged because the density of this is 0.3, this is 0.7 broadly, and this is 0.9. So they usually arrange on top. First we have gas, followed by oil, and at the bottom we have water. If the reservoir is having two phase, oil and water, in that case we will have oil on the top and water beneath that. So when we have oil and water only, we call it as undersaturated reservoir. If we have all these phases, water, oil and gas, in that case this is saturated reservoir. And when we have only gas at the top and water beneath, we call it as oversaturated reservoir. As the name itself indicates, undersaturated means they are stored and they are at high pressure, and oversaturated means they don't have any liquid. The exploration policy also changes if we know about the reservoir. When we have the undersaturated and oversaturated reservoir, in these case we usually drill the well on the crustal part of anticline, because in both the cases we have water as bottom water drive, and edge water drive. Okay. In both the cases, in both the cases, the water act as the driving force to push the hydrocarbon to the drilled well. Okay. But what happen in case of saturated reservoir? In case of saturated reservoir, since we have the gas on the crustal part, so if we drill a well over here, what will happen? First the gas will move, after that oil will try to move, but it will not be very good candidate to drill over here. In this case, what we should do, we should drill on the flank where we have the hydrocarbon, where we have the oil. What is the reason for that? Reason for that is, when we drill on the flanks, we have the water drive which is conventionally associated with that, and as we know, gas expand very fast when it get the open space. Okay, so it will expand and it will lead to movement of oil towards the drilled well. Okay, so what happened, this gas will also act as a driving force for the movement of oil to the drilled wells. When we drill at the crustal part, the gas will escape because gas will expand fast, and the production of oil will not be very good, very efficient. In general, as we know, we cannot produce the entire volume of oil which is preserved in the there in the reservoir. In general, we produces maximum we can go up to through the natural drive, maximum we can go up to 60 to 65%. That is the maximum I am telling, depending on when the all conditions are quite good. And as soon as the thickness of oil increases, the productivity decreases. Okay, and in gaseous case we can produce up to 80% from the reservoir. Still we are not able to produce more than 80% for the gas, and for liquid, if we uses EOR, enhanced oil recovery, in that case also it can increase 5 to 10% only, 5 to 10% using EOR. So we used to after adding this EOR also we go up to 75%. That is an assumption, not exactly. So that means still 25% will remain in the reservoir. Okay. So this is all about the pressure, which is related to bubble point and dew point. Next come viscosity. How the viscosity affect, or rather what is the role of viscosity? Viscosity, as we know, viscosity is the nature of flow. One more thing I would like to add about the pressure. Since we plotted this graph, you all remember just now we plotted this. We all just plotted this plot. So what happens, as the temperature increases, this bubble point and dew point curve merges. This is bubble point curve and this is dew point curve, and this is T1, this is T2, this is T3 isotherms, and here we have pressure, and here we have volume, specific volume. Okay. So now we will move on viscosity. So what is the role of viscosity? As we have already discussed, that if the hydrocarbon is having low viscosity, what will ease to? It will ease to production. That means we will get good production. If the hydrocarbon has high viscosity, that means it's really tough to produce. So one of the important factor for viscosity is in general what we desire lower viscosity hydrocarbons. Okay. So if we see a plot between the volume of oil with respect to pressure, or rather not volume of oil, viscosity of oil with respect to pressure, what happens initially? As the pressure decreases, what will happen? As the pressure will decrease, the viscosity of oil will decrease. Okay. But after certain time it increases, and this point we call it as PB. Suppose we take a point PB. After certain time the viscosity will increase. And what is the reason for that? Because after this PB, the lighter fragment will escape out, and only heavier fragment will fraction, not exactly fragment, only heavier fraction of hydrocarbon will remain. That's why we get a slight increase in the viscosity even after increasing pressure. Okay. With increasing pressure, the first time I uses that with decreasing pressure. This is with increasing pressure, the viscosity decreases, and after certain time a slight increase has been observed usually. Okay. Next point is temperature. What is the effect of temperature? What is the effect of temperature? As we know, there can be two effect of temperature on hydrocarbon, and this is used for this is very important to study the effect of temperature on crude for the transportation purpose, transportation and storage purpose. This is important to study for because of the transportation and storage purpose. Okay, so what will be the effect of increasing or decreasing pressure on the fluid, temperature on the hydrocarbon? So what happens if we decrease the pressure? There is oil or liquid phase, what happens as we reduce the pressure? After certain time, a point comes which we call it as cloud point. Cloud point is a point at which the first solid start appearing in the hydrocarbon. First solid portion start appearing. With decreasing pressure, the liquid will with decreasing temperature, the liquid will start solidifying, and initially when it starts solidifying, first this solid will appear as fume within the liquid. Okay, so when it appears as fume or rather cloud within the liquid, we call it as cloud point because of that, but this is the solid portion which is suspended in the liquid. And after that, when a point reaches, which is known as pour point, is the point at which there is complete transformation of liquid into solid. Okay, over here we have complete transformation of this liquid into solid. Similarly, as we increase the temperature, what will happen? With increasing temperature, this liquid will first convert it into gaseous phase. After converting to gaseous phase, there will be a point which is known as flash point. Flash point is a point at which the liquid catches the fire. Not exactly liquid, over there it will be in the form of gaseous stage. So when the hydrocarbon, a critical point above which the hydrocarbon catches the fire, this is a critical point above which the hydrocarbon catches the fire, is known as flash point. And if we increase the temperature further ahead, a point that is known as burning point, and this is the point at which continuous flaming of the hydrocarbon takes place. So this is the broad effect of temperature on the liquid. How does it behave? When we are lowering the temperature, there will be cloud point, then pour point. After pour point, it will be complete solid, and when we increase the temperature, first we will get flash point where the liquid start catching the fire, that is a critical point, but when a continuous burning start, it's a burning point. So what is the use of this during the transportation and storage? Since we used to transport the oil from Siberia and Gulf countries where we have very low temperature, so we are producing oil, but when we are transporting the oil, we need to see that in general we used to get -50, -20, and the temperature even goes up to -50 degrees Celsius. So what happens when we are transporting the oil, we need to see the oil should not go, the temperature should not go as below as of the cloud point, because when it start converting to the solid, it will choke the pipelines. So that is our prime objective, that we should not the temperature of during transportation, the environmental temperature should not be such that the liquid or the pipeline could pass through below the cloud point temperature. So that is the important point to study for the oil or liquid which is being produced. What is the cloud point or pour point for this particular liquid? Similarly, in the warm countries, we need to look for the flash point. What is the flash point? At which we can transport and store our hydrocarbon without much losses. So this is about the temperature, and next is our electrical resistivity. This is one of the very important characteristic of hydrocarbon. Why this is very important property? Because most of the how do we find oil when we are dealing with the because oil is in subsurface, we don't know whether at this place we will get oil or some other place where we are dealing whether we will get oil or not. So this is one of the property which which is used to ascertain about our finding, because and this electrical resistivity is being recorded in the well logs. The term this well log might be new to some of you, but we will discuss this well log in a separate class. We call it as well logging, where we evaluate the formation based on the different physical properties such as radioactivity or the density or the resistivity. Okay, so this electrical resistivity is for the hydrocarbon or for the crude is being studied by well log, and in general the oil gives very high resistivity when it is present in the formation. What happens, suppose we are in general the earth is layered, as we all know. Earth has a layered sedimentary structure. We have sand, shale, coal, and clay. Okay, clay, or rather I would like to write carbonates. Okay, and if we measure the resistivity in these formations, usually the sandstone, shale, coal or carbonates, out of these, this shale has some clay minerals which are little conductive. But if the entire formation is dry, in dry condition, all these sand, shale, coal and whatever is carbonate, they will give very high resistivity. Okay, so now then the next question come, if the formation which we are dealing with, they are also giving the high resistivity and the oil is also giving the high resistivity, then how to differentiate? How do we identify? In general, as you all know, we don't have the pure sandstone, shale or coal or carbonate in beneath the reservoir. What do we have? Within the shale, what we have? We have intergranular porosity. porosity. Similarly, in the shales also some porosity is there, not some porosity is there. Even in shale we have higher porosity than the sand, but that is not connected, we will discuss later on. And in coal also similarly, in the carbonates we have intragranular porosity, or we have Vogge porosity or solution porosity. Vogge porosity or solution porosity. And usually when they are near the surface, above the water table, they are near the water table, above water table or near the water table, they are filled with fresh water. They are filled with fresh water, which is again having a high resistivity, okay, because it does not have any electrolyte within it. But as soon as the overburden increases and it goes down and down, the water which is present in the molecule, within the molecule, it dissolves some of the chemical components, some of the chemicals from the surrounding, and it became brine. That means it become salty, and when it becomes salty, the resistivity will drop. Okay, the resistivity will drop. So whatever drill well we used to make, our drill well goes in general more than 1500 meters. Okay, sometimes we get hydrocarbon at 700 600 meter also, but in general it is more than 1000 and 1500 meter. So at that greater depth, the water is usually in the form of brine, which has salinity more than 35,000 ppm. This 35,000 ppm is seawater salinity. Okay, so more than 35,000 ppm, and because of that, and if that and now this sandstone is having brine, this shale is having brine, coal is having brine, and carbonate is having brine, then what will happen? The resistivity will decrease. Okay, so in that case the resistivity will decrease, and when the resistivity will decrease, then what will happen? If these layers are having hydrocarbon, suppose this is our reservoir, this is shale, this shale does not act as reservoir, it acts as a cap rock or seal, it acts as cap rock or as a seal. Here this is sandstone, suppose, and this sandstone is having oil, and this oil is at the crustal part only. This diagram is not good, so I will make another diagram. Suppose this is better one. Okay, this is our sandstone. On top of this we have, suppose, shale or some cap rock, Okay, so and this sand, we know this sand is acting as reservoir, and we are having oil in this. Okay, and this is located at certain depth, we call it as H. At certain depth, as we have already discussed, as the depth increases, the salinity in general increases with increasing depth, the formation water salinity. So over here we will have water. So what will happen if we drill a well and we record the well log? And over here we are referring to resistivity. If we record the resistivity log from this formation, what will happen? For particularly this formation, what will happen? Suppose we are measuring resistivity from 0.1 to 1000 ohmmeter. So what will happen? Usually this resistivity is plotted on logarithmic scale.
Over here I cannot plot, so I am using either you can plus and minus, you can write increase and decrease, rather increase and decrease for your understanding. So what will happen if we measure the resistivity for this cap rock? Since the cap rock is shale, it will show some resistivity, and since it is cap rock and it is shale, some water molecule will be there, and along with water molecule some clay molecule will be also there. So this clay molecule will reduce the resistivity, okay. And if there is not exactly the water molecule, if they are the clay molecule also, they will reduce the resistivity. That means we will have lesser resistivity initially in the cap rock zone. Then in the oil zone, oil is very resistive, so in oil zone we will have very high resistivity, and in water zone, because this water is brine, and it will show very low resistivity, okay. It will show very low resistivity, and if it is not brine, it is fresh water, again it will show higher resistivity, but usually our formation is associated with the brines, or hydrocarbon is usually associated with the brines. So we will have very high resistivity peak in the oil zones, and this resistivity peak is taken care by well site geologist or the well logger, which is present in the industries, to identify this high resistivity zone. And this high resistivity zone is when the zone is identified, whether this is 5 meter or 10 meter, that particular zone is being perforated in the reservoirs and the oil is getting produced to the drilled well. So this is one of the crucial property. This electrical resistivity is one of the crucial property to recognize or to identify the hydrocarbon beneath the earth's surface, whether we have the hydrocarbon beneath the surface or not, okay, and to differentiate between brine and hydrocarbon, okay. So this is all about the basics of petroleum. What is petroleum geology? What is petroleum? How the petroleum occurs? What are the organic components? Then what are the physical properties which we need to understand or study?